Oh, the elusive father wound. This one hits close for many reasons. One, because it's something that I experienced personally growing up and really had to deal with in my 20s and early 30s. Really had to move through and just tackle it, be very hands-on with it. And so I had a question from a young man, I think he's 21, 22 years old, a follower, and I'm just going to get straight into the question. I'm going to break this down because I think and feel that so many, not only men, but women also experience this in a different way. And this young man, I really want to address the father wound within young men and how it almost forces us until unchecked. It forces us when it's unchecked to be in a completely disconnected, disoriented state. And so we're disorientated from what's true to us, what our values are, what's really important to us, and how we choose to move through the world. So let me go and read this question. I was wondering if you can help me gain perspective on why it is like when I'm around my father, I start to act like him and pick up his characteristics, and mostly his bad ones and destructive ones. And I start to feel like I don't know who I am afterwards. And I'm also confused and I feel lost. Would be greatly appreciated. Thank you for all the content and the support you give. I'm 21. So the fact that you're asking these questions at 21 years of age is fucking epic. It's amazing because I was not asking those types of questions at that age. I was exploring the cerebral realm of being, but I wasn't quite that connected to my actions, behavior, and unconscious drivers. And so let's talk about the father wound for a moment. It's predominantly around abandonment. And in young men, it shows up in a variety of ways. So the core reason why that young man is behaving like his father is because he feels disconnected from his father. He feels abandoned from his father, and he's doing his best to impress his father, to impress upon him that he is worthy, that he is a man coming of age of substance, that he carries value. I remember whenever I was with my father and I had the opportunity to impress him, I would impress him by speaking his speak, because familiarity and similarity is something that's very close to us. And so if we can mimic those that we value or that we place on a pedestal, those that we deify, and we deify our parents from a very young age. And often what happens is we don't get to a point where we realize that, oh, I don't need to deify them anymore. I don't need to make them gods. And in fact, I feel secure within myself. Few of us get to that place. And so there's this continuous longing for approval. There's this continuous longing to be seen, to be understood by that masculine figure, that predominant masculine figure in our lives. And for young men, it's about impressing their fathers with what would their fathers want them to be or do. And here's the thing, when we're coming from that place and that expectation is placed upon us, there is very little that we can continuously do to impress our fathers. So we get caught in this vicious cycle of continuing to behave in a way that we think, we perceive is what they need, but they're never happy. They're actually never satisfied. And they're never content, clearly, with who we are, because they're never content within themselves. There are many reasons why fathers are absent. Much of the time it's because of their own pain. Other times it's because of societal pressures, systemic pressures. This need for men to provide for their families. And so they prioritize the value of providing economically for their families over that close bond and contact. Another possible reason is that we have lost our ways with respect to rites of passage. And I've mentioned this before. Females have a very distinct biological rite of passage. They have a menstrual cycle. They were girls and now they're women. Now they're able to give birth and create. They have a very distinct biological transition from girlhood to womanhood. Boys don't have that. We need a cultural rites of passage. We need a rites of passage that guides us and directs us, particularly by men, because men, males, we can relate to them in a different way, like females can relate to females in a different way. Let me be clear about something. This isn't about segregation and separation. This is basically just saying, hey, we're different. And it's okay to be different. And in that difference, we need certain things to help us evolve and grow and transition in healthier ways. We lack that healthy transition and guidance and support during our boyhood and teenage years, helping us become quote unquote healthy men. And so when men can't give us that, our fathers can't give us that, we live in more individualistic societies, particularly in the Western world. When our fathers can't give us that, they can't provide us with that guidance, we create it ourselves. And we seek for it ourselves. And we often seek to those that we admire, deify, place as gods, our fathers. And so as young boys, we think that taking risk is the way to impress our fathers. Now, risk is actually healthy. Many studies have been shown in the realm of attraction dynamics that healthy risk, intelligent risk is actually really attractive to females. Unintelligent risk is not. For example, healthy risk could be exercising, training the body, maybe fight training. For a man, that can be healthy risk because it is gauged and it is for the purpose of creating health. An unhealthy risk is doing stupid stunts, for example, like running across a freeway for no apparent reason when there are thousands of cars coming back and forth just to impress someone. That's a quote unquote stupid risk. So let me go back to risks in terms of how we want to take these risks to impress our fathers. And so we don't know what healthy and unhealthy risks are because we haven't been given guidance. So generally we'll create the most extreme version of risk that we can. And we try to impress our fathers. We try to impress those around us because we have a low sense of self-worth because we're attempting to fill our cup with someone, with something, with an idea of how someone sees us based on them not actually being connected to us. I remember the conversations I would have with my father. My father was a womanizer. My father was a gambler. My father he wasn't a criminal, but he mixed with people that, let's put it this way, weren't healthy members of society. And so what did I go do? I would go do the same thing to impress him, to get his approval, to have him on my side, to have him see me so we could relate to each other and talk, and I would feel full, but I would actually feel empty, continuously feel empty. And I would do more and take more risk and do stupid things, and this isn't about judging my actions, but I would do things that were not healthy for me or for those around me, all driven by this emptiness that I had to not only impress my father, but to impress everyone. Because that need to impress and seek approval and seek validation, it translates into every relationship. It leaks into every relationship. So the reason this young man is doing that is because he wants to be loved by his father, because he now has a low sense of self-worth and does not love himself. He doesn't care for himself. I spent so many years not loving myself, not caring about me and my needs, not understanding me. And I sought healing, but in the wrong places. It was in the quick fixes. It was in the prostitution. It was in the womanizing. It was in the alcohol and the pornography, in the fast-paced entrepreneurship where I was busying myself and making quick money and losing quick money. And so we have an opportunity to break that cycle by first recognizing that no one is a god, that we can't impress others until we impress ourselves with who we are and our truth. Until we value who we are, we'll never be able to be healthy in relationship. We'll always seek more. We'll go outside of our comfort zones in a negative way. And so how do we heal this? We begin by finding our own self-worth. Find what makes you valuable, what makes you precious. Discover what is important to you. Learn your worth and your value and bring that into the world. That's your power. Don't seek it outside of yourself. Don't be codependent on needing the approval of others. Don't be codependent on seeking validation from someone that does not value themselves, that does not understand and see themselves. We're seeking validation and approval and guidance from older men, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80-year-olds. These men have not been initiated themselves. These men have been seeking. These men are still boys trapped in elderly people's bodies. They're seeking approval and validation. We have to find it within ourselves. We have to create a tribe of men around us that see us, that witness us, that support us, that guide us. And so these negative traits that we take on of our Father is to impress Him in the most extreme way possible, because we think that the higher the risk, the higher the validation. The higher the risk, the higher the value. The higher the risk, the more that we're loved. And that's not the case. It's an empty, futile action that we continue to take. And so if you feel this nervousness like I used to around my father, what can I say and do to impress him? I had to continue to pretend to be someone that I wasn't. I had to pretend to like something that didn't really interest me. I had to pretend to continuously validate him, make him feel good about himself. When as a young kid, I couldn't feel good about me. I was a boy, and I was a boy trapped in an adult's body seeking that father approval. It wasn't my 21 or 25 or 30-year-old self seeking it. It was the 6-year-old, 5-year-old, 9-year-old self seeking it, coming through my actions, coming through those deep yearnings. And so the opportunity is to see yourself for your truth, for your power, for all that you are and how you show up in the world and what you truly desire. And healing that pain of the past, healing that trauma, healing that missing, that loss, that what power did you give away? What did you lose? What did you not receive from your father? Is being with that, is grieving that, going through a process of feeling our feelings in a supportive way, maybe under professional guidance. And going through that place, surrounding yourself with brothers and men that see you, with tribe, with brethren, that feel you, that can connect to you, that support you, that say, I see you, brother. I hear you, I feel you. It's safe for you to release. Bring your burden and your worries here. Cease to try and impress someone that does not see you and that cannot see you because of their own wounding. And then you may be able to forgive them. And then you may be able to change the dynamic because you're relating differently to them. But otherwise, the dynamic, the relationship structure won't change until you relate differently. Often it's said that power is a great responsibility. And fortunately or unfortunately, if you carry that power in a relationship, in a relational dynamic, you are tasked with the responsibility to act, quote unquote, first. And shift, not so much the relationship, but the way you show up in relationship, which will directly have an impact on that dynamic. Father wound is a tough one. For young boys, it leads us down a life of never feeling enough, never being enough, never understanding ourselves, feeling empty, feeling constant tension, not feeling worthy, acting in ways that are misaligned with our values. It has us being deeply rebellious in not a healthy way. It has us taking risk in an unorthodox, unhealthy way. It doesn't allow us to truly see ourselves. And it continues to allow us to be codependent and seek our worth outside of ourselves. And that leaks into every relationship, the relationship that you have with your partner. You will appease him or her more than you will ever know. You will continue to appease her at your own cost, at your own detriment. You will maximize her and minimize you. In terms of attraction dynamics, that's not taking leadership. That's not confidence. You will lack confidence with the father wound and you will express that into the world. And that not having certainty and that quote unquote weakness and that scatterbrain is going to frustrate you. You'll either retreat massively or you'll project outwardly aggressively in the world. And a confident, healthy man, a man that is certain in his posture, doesn't need to be aggressive. He uses aggression as a last resort. And so it distorts our relationships, our romantic, intimate relationships deeply. Attraction dynamics get massively damaged You don't become sexually appealing to the opposite sex in any capacity. There's a lot to say on this, but men, find your worth. Find people that reflect value back to you. Start digging deep, do the healing work, the inner work. The inward and outward journey of exploration. Explore the inner chasms of your heart and explore the outer world. And don't put so much pressure on yourself and so much weight and divinity in something outside of yourself. Power and blessings to you.